All right, good morning and welcome to the show Spring Trends on Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. My name is Emmanuel Ojadikele. It's so good to have you join us on the show this morning. I hope you enjoyed the interview segment and, of course, the newspaper review. Now, let's go straight to business. You can follow the show live on StarTimes channel 190 DTT platform, or you can follow it on all our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. Do well to follow, like, subscribe, and share, and spread the good news. Now, let's start with something that has been trending. You know, the CBN has extended the deadline for the cash swap policy. But the question Nigerians are asking is, are the new Naira notes really scarce? There's a video that will be coming up shortly on your screen now. And you see that video. You see that celebrities, like I said yesterday on the show, celebrities, politicians are really in possession of this note. These are the new Naira notes being sprayed indiscriminately at a wedding reception. I mean, look at the bundles. Imagine what is being done to what people are queuing for hours to get. People wake up as early as 5 a.m. You heard the man on the interview segment saying that some persons were at the ATM as early as 1 a.m. in the morning, and they couldn't get. You can see a uniformed man there, I think a soldier, they're standing by while this desecration of the Naira is ongoing. This is in blatant disregard of the CBN Act. I mean, you want to ask, how did these people get access to the notes? You know, how the politicians also get access to the note. But then, it is what it is. We hope that very soon the common man would get access to the note itself. But away from the notes, let's move over to Kano State. Yesterday, President Muhammadu Buhari was in Kano State a few days after he was in Katsina. And the same thing, you know, they say lightning doesn't strike the same place twice. Unfortunately for President Buhari, boo-boo, lightning did strike twice. What happened in Kano yesterday was a show of shame. I'd like to show you that video. Okay, so let's take the leads to that story. I remember that what you saw, the clips you just saw, are clips from Kano State. Now, the streets of Kano were littered with stones as the residents expressed their frustration with President Muhammadu Buhari by attacking his convoy. This event marks a significant loss in popularity for the president since he took office. Now, Gobak Singh Chahal is the one reporting now, says as reported by BNN Nigeria last week, the president faced a similar situation in his hometown of Katsina, where he was stoned while trying to commission a project. The people's dissatisfaction stems from the hardship faced by the country, including the recent increase in fuel prices and the Naira redesign policy. This has resulted in a growing sense of frustration and anger amongst the population as they are struggling to make ends meet. So let's see responses to that. DNT Preneur says, if residents of Kano are angry with President Muhammadu Buhari, why would Tinubu, who is from same party, be any different? Very valid question. Aldu Mahmoud says, whoever thought that a day will come when President Buhari will be stoned by concerned citizens in Kano. Gistam is stating the obvious as Kano residents stoned a helicopter in President Muhammadu Buhari's convoy during a visit to the state. This is coming days after Governor Ganduje asked Buhari to postpone his visit due to security issues from Nigerians' hardship due to the Naira swap deadline and fuel scarcity. Abdel says, this stapled Kano people's video stoning the Nigeria president helicopter Muhammadu Buhari is a show of how far we've reached in tolerating bad governance in the nation. We should choose wisely whom to vote in the forthcoming election in February and March. That's what that person is trying to say. Jose Fayero says, I can't believe Nigerians are stoning President Muhammadu Buhari GCFR, both in his hometown and Kano State. Please, what must have motivated that? Buhari of all people. That's the question we've been asking. Lekon Posh says, we are waiting for Femi Adesina to come and twist this Muhammadu Buhari Kano story. Kano people are giving APC stones to swallow this time around. And Koiki Media Oduduwa says, President Buhari was stoned today in Kano State, the state that won in both the 2014 and 19 election. These are the people who have always had faith in him. But today, alhamdulillah, they've come to know that he doesn't just care about them. And Paul Edo is making a very valid point. In as much as we don't agree with the ruling party's policy, most times we must condemn what is not good at all time. Report filing in from Kano stating how angry citizens stoned President Buhari's chopper is disheartening and wicked. Despite Ganduje's warning, Mr. President still insists on visiting the state. He has shown the best love for his people, and in return for commissioning some of their projects, they hurled stones at his airplane. Is another sad story of saying to behold, we must love our president, governors, for these are leaders placed above us by God himself. You cannot force people to love people that they are angry at. I disagree with him, but we must condemn the fact that they were stoning the president. There are other ways to, express your grievance. Away from Kano, let's move on to Lagos. So much has been happening in the transport sector, particularly the railway lines. We've been having people sabotage the railway lines, remove the tracks, and then cause trains to derail. Yesterday, the spokesperson of the police in Lagos State, Benjamin Hundeyin, tweeted that about 1 a.m. today, that's yesterday, a patrol team from Ijora Badia Division intercepted a Mitsubishi Lancer car conveying vandalized railway tracks. The two occupants of the vehicle have been arrested. Investigation is ongoing. Now let's see how people have reacted to that particular incident. Rahman Abiola says, a man's heart is a dark room of secrets. How can you, for God's sake, decide to do this dirty job without thinking about its consequences on other people? Made in Lagos says they should be sent to jail. Trains derailing here and there, these are the causes. Daniel Omokoje says this should be considered treason. An example should be made out of them. Yes, you need to stop vandalizing government property and putting the lives of others at risk. Observer 00 says, in Nigeria, everyone is blaming the government, but some citizens are worse. They should be jailed for minimum 25 years each if found guilty. What other means do you want to prove that are guilty? You've caught them with the railway tracks. Sosodep says, are Nigerians not the ones that form the government? Are they aliens? Nigeria is a geographical location, but Nigerians are citizens of that location. Fash 360 degrees says, good job. Please go after the melting companies. Place your men at those places. Work with DSS to station permanent undercovers in those industries. Go to Owode Oniri. Go to Ikorodu Metal Industries. No random checks. Do strategic placement at the certain point in these companies. This is a very valid point. I want to assume that when these railway tracks are vandalized, they are taken to these melting companies to melt them down. T-Batch says, before you all condemn these men, think about what must have made them to carry out this act. They are wrong and should be punished for theft. I can't help but ask myself the question of why they did it. This country doesn't leave some people with a lot of options and opportunities. This is nonsense. They did it because they are wicked. Simple. There are other means to make money. If you don't explore legal means to make money, but you want to make money by putting the lives of others at risk, then you're a wicked person. End of story. Defy Tiger says the investigation should be extended to know those who they intend selling to. Yes, if it has always been business. Stainless says, use those rail tracks as pendants on their neck and make them walk around from the prison to court every day until they are being sentenced to jail finally. I absolutely concur with this. But that's the end of that story. Let's move on to another story that was really troublesome yesterday. I mean, I found it very ridiculous. I went on Twitter, and then what I saw was that a particular Twitter user, Crown Africa, had put up a tweet asking who is Nigeria's best TV interviewer, like for Ebuka Obi-Uchendu, retweet for Cyril Stoba. I mean, in 2012, when I was, still a student of communication, I was taught about Cyril Stoba. I mean, of NTA, there is no communication student that has not heard of Cyril Stoba. And that is the person you're comparing Ebuka to because of Big Brother Naija or because of some Judge Judy or whatever. You're comparing Ebuka and Cyril Stoba. Such disrespect. But let's see how Nigerians have reacted to that disrespect. We begin with Johnny Nwandep Parody says, this is absurd. Whoever brought up this competition didn't do well. Ebuka was still a boy when Cyril Stoba made his bones in TV presentation and interviews. It's like comparing Mbappe to late Maradona or late Pele. Oh, wrong now. Very wrong. DME Lagos says, Ebuka doesn't deserve to be mentioned in the same breath as Cyril Stoba, someone who has interviewed president, a veteran and master of communication. I beg, let's stop all this nonsense. I agree. Ayo says, who did Ebuka interview? Tenants and or squatters of Big Brother house? What is his contribution to broadcasting? When you bring two people generations apart, what should be the basis for comparison? What should we adopt as a yardstick for measurement? I mean, in what universe does Ebuka hold a candle to Cyril Stoba? I don't know. I mean, that happens when you have children running some of these accounts. They believe that life begins in 2010 and ends in 2023. Jinxified says, how can you make such a contrast? This is demeaning to the person of Mr. Cyril, to say the least. Nigeria News says, how can you compare these two? On what yardstick? Are they age mates? No. Experience-wise, are they on the same level? No. Do they host same genre of shows? No. On what ground? I beg you, go collect your PVC, Joe. Golden Voice says, what insult? Comparing a veteran like Cyril Stoba with Ebuka, let's do better, please. The king himself says, I bet Ebuka grew up watching and taking inspiration from Mr. Cyril. You can appreciate both of them without comparison because it's a mismatch. Ijoma Miriam says, why are you so disrespectful? You should have asked who Cyril Stoba is before making this ridiculous comparison. Even Ebuka himself would disagree with you. Well, that's that on that story. We'd like to end the show on a sporting note this morning. Yesterday, there was a shocking announcement from famous Italian sports journalist Fabrizio Romano. It says that Arsenal has approached Chelsea for Jorginho. It is now an option in case Caicedo deal won't go through, with Brighton still reluctant to sell. Chelsea open to sell Jorginho, but will ask for important fee to let him leave 6 months before end of contract. Now let's see the response of football fans to that particular story. Pato G says, Arsenal needs an experienced player who has won both the EPL and Champions League, so it's a good call. Renato is next, says, better than Lokonga and El Neni. We need a decent substitute for Shaka Partey, and he can be that guy. Then in the summer, we'll go big for Rice or Caicedo again. Arsenal positives. Stephen A. Smith Bernard Parody says, would be a solid title charge signing for 6 months. Then we go younger in the summer. Better than nothing. And Eliaris Tigerian says, all but confirms the title for Arsenal. Jorginho would enjoy it there. Big pitch, nice surface, attacking players ahead of him, comfortable in possession. I want to see him enjoy his football. Happy for him to go. Megamind says he's leaving this summer anyways. Might as well cashing on him now. Not like it's going to be influential to us winning the UCL this season or finishing top 4 in the EPL. Sell for 40 million and sign Ruben Neves with the money. Con says selling Jorginho to Arsenal will be so silly from Chelsea. No point strengthening Arsenal's title charge for such a small fee. Makes zero sense. PYS says absolute flat out no to selling Jorginho to Arsenal. Arteta would make him cook and we need to keep him for the remainder of this season. Can't believe we are open to selling him. Ruined it all. And the last comment or thereabout on that show, on that story is Franklin CFC says Jorginho to Arsenal and some happy. Jorginho is currently the best midfielder in the world. Well, that's subjective. What Jorginho does in that midfield needs high intellect to detect. Jorginho is better than Enzo Fernandez. That's why Chelsea should be very fast to sell him to Arsenal. Please. Such an ironical statement. Well, on that note, we end the show this morning. We do hope that you join us tomorrow, both on the interview and newspaper analysis segment of Morning Spring, and of course on Spring Trends. In the meantime, stay safe, stay away from trouble, and do not make silly comparisons like Ebuka and Cyril Stoba. I mean, that's like comparing some Agumbelewo Warriors footballer to Cristiano Ronaldo. It's a mismatch. I mean, let's avoid doing that. And do well to collect your PVCs. Do well to deposit all your old cash, your old notes. And also, try to enjoy a problem, not the finish. I'll see you tomorrow.
Can you imagine the feeling when you get your news as the break with facts and clarity? Our news are reported as it is.
In Africa, and all those who masterminded the way it happened, we have to pay a price.
Enjoy Western programs, projecting culture and tradition to the world. Brought to you as the break and recapped every hour for your update.
We must never forget the sacrifices of the heroes of Nigeria's democracy.
Produced and brought to you in a unique way never before seen.
Western Spring.
Western Spring.
And Western Spring Television.
Television is coming home in your color and culture.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
And your sports Amazon, Nengi Ernest.
on this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
And your sports Amazon, Nengi Ernest.
on this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever expounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast. Detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Dramatist, playwright, and icon of Yoruba thematic arts, Duro Ladipo was born December 18, 1931 in Osogbo, southwest Nigeria. His clergyman father christened him Timothy. His other names, Duro Dola, Duro Shomo, Duro Rike, reflected his persona and the circumstances that surrounded his birth. The legendary stage actor had in several public fora identified himself as one of the greatest abikus born to die in this world. Family records reveal how he was born and died 13 times. The intertwining names he bore thus lent credence to his spiritism. Duro Ladipo was one of the best known and world-acclaimed Yoruba dramatists to emerge from post-colonial Africa. His notable works, Obakoso, Obawaja, and Moremi, took him beyond Africa to several parts of the world. By the time Duro Ladipo died on 11 March 1978, the Nigeria's first cultural ambassador had acquired a towering image as an artist whose works adorned the frontage of Trenchard Hall, University of Ibadan. Western Spring Television identifies Duro Ladipo as a major character in history.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
And your sports Amazon, Nengi Ernest.
on this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.